Today, we're really plunging into the architecture of the ancient world. This came out of your interest in, well, getting a solid grip on some foundational topics quickly.
Yeah, sometimes you just want that core understanding without wading through textbooks for weeks.
Exactly. And the material you shared paints this incredible picture of how early civilizations, they weren't just building structures, they were crafting these tangible expressions of their beliefs, their power structures, their whole view of the cosmos.
It's fascinating stuff. Architecture as communication, really.
Right. So our mission today is to pull out those key insights, the really important bits about ancient architectural ingenuity and its legacy. We want to give you those aha moments without getting completely bogged down in, excessive detail.
Looking for the underlying principles, the big ideas that connect these different cultures.
Precisely. And we're covering a pretty wide range. Mesopotamia, Egypt, the Indus Valley, ancient China, Mesoamerica, and then Greece and Rome. We'll focus on their key innovations and, like you said, the principles behind them.
Sounds like a good plan. Where should we start?
Let's kick off with Mesopotamia, often called the cradle of civilization, right? Makes sense to start there.
Absolutely. Mesopotamia is fundamental. Their architecture really grew out of developing cities, more complex religious ideas, and basically the need to organize and manage these growing societies.
And the ziggurat is probably the most iconic form that comes to mind.
Definitely. That classic stepped temple tower.
The sources described it as almost like a ladder, connecting the everyday world with the realm of the gods. Can you expand on that a bit?
Well, the ambition is just striking. It wasn't just about being tall, that verticality, the stepped form reaching upwards. It was literally conceived as a meeting point, a place where humans and deities could, theoretically, interact.
Wow.
Take the ziggurat of around 2100 BCE. It's this massive, tiered platform with temple perched right on the very top. It's almost like they felt they had to build their own mountain to get closer to the gods.
And the way they built it is interesting, too. Sun-dried bricks inside, but then faced with fired bricks on the outside.
Yeah, that shows some pretty sophisticated thinking early on, doesn't it? They understood materials, structural layering.
And even maybe designing for the climate, making the core more insulating.
Precisely. Those thick walls, the different brick types, it would have helped regulate temperature. And remember, stone was really scarce there. So their mastery of mud brick is, well, it's impressive.
They really had to make the most of it.
They did. And they developed techniques like buttressing those sort of projecting supports to stabilize the massive walls. And the recessed niches you often see weren't just decoration. They broke up the monotony of the brick and added visual texture.
It wasn't purely functional, though. I mean,
Yeah.
think about the ornamentation, like the Ishtar Gate of Babylon.
Yeah.
That glazed brickwork is stunning and loaded with meaning.
Absolutely loaded. That's where art and architecture just completely merge. You've got mythological creatures, symbols of gods, even royal inscriptions. They weren't just decoration.
There were statements.
Powerful statements built right into the city walls and gates. Imagine walking through the Ishtar Gate. You're immediately confronted by the power of the gods and the king.
And the alignment, they often oriented these buildings to north, south, east, west. That wasn't random, was it?
Not at all. That speaks to their worldview. Their cities, their temples were aligned with the cardinal directions because they saw the cosmos as ordered, sacred, hierarchical.
So the layout reflected that cosmic order.
Exactly. The temple precinct, usually at the heart of the city, was the spiritual and civic center. It anchored their whole world.
Okay, let's shift gears and head southwest to Egypt. An architecture almost synonymous with eternity, permanence.
That's a perfect way to put it. The Egyptian obsession with the afterlife is absolutely key to understanding their building ambitions. The pharaohs weren't just kings, they were seen as gods.
And their tombs were more than graves.
Much more. They were incredibly elaborate portals, designed to guarantee the pharaoh's journey into immortality.
Which brings us, of course, to the pyramids of Giza, the Great Pyramid of Khufu. I mean, over 2 million blocks of limestone. The scale, the precision, it's hard to wrap your head around.
It really is. What strikes you most about it?
I think it is that combination of just raw scale and unbelievable precision, and that pyramid shape itself, symbolizing the sun's rays like a ramp for the pharaoh's soul.
Right. They were literally building their theology in stone.
Yeah.
And that precise alignment with the cardinal points, that's not just good surveying. It tells you about their advanced understanding of astronomy, their whole cosmology.
Then you have the temples like Karnak, which, as the sources point out, weren't really for public worship like we might think today.
No, not in the same way. They were more like ritual landscapes, pathways mainly for the priests and for interacting with the gods' statues and essences.
A very different idea of sacred space.
Definitely. And the design reflects that. Think of those huge hypostyle halls, just forests of columns, the imposing gateways called pylons, the tall obelisks. It was all designed to create a journey.
From the outside world to the inner sanctuary.
Exactly. A journey from the profane to the divine. Even the processional ways lined with sphinxes reinforced that idea of a sacred passage.
And like Mesopotamia, geometry was crucial. That idea of sacred proportions based on the cubit.
Yes, this very careful use of proportional systems suggests a deep belief in harmony and divine order. They wanted their buildings to reflect the unchanging perfection of the gods.
And then the hieroglyphs covering everything.
It's like the architecture itself is speaking, fusing building with language, with theology, with myth. The walls tell stories.
Making the buildings themselves into narrative surfaces incredible.
It really is. They embedded their history, their beliefs, the pharaoh's power right into the stone itself.
Okay, let's take a big jump east now to the Indus Valley civilization. What's immediately striking here is, well, it feels quite different. Less focus on those massive religious monuments.
That's a key difference, absolutely. Compared to Egypt and Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley civilization, sites like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, they really stand out for their focus on rational urban planning and sophisticated civic infrastructure.
The grid layouts, right? Streets laid out at right angles. It sounds almost modern.
It's pretty remarkable for the time, and the level of standardization is also key-fired bricks made to consistent sizes, amazing drainage and sewage systems, public granaries, even large public baths.
That suggests a really organized society.
It does. Maybe a strong central authority, or at least very well-established social systems.
But, as our sources note, there's this lack of obvious monumental temples or huge palaces like we see elsewhere. That's a big contrast.
It is, and it makes you wonder about their society. Did this focus on urban efficiency, hygiene, standardization? Did it mean they were maybe more egalitarian? Or perhaps just prioritized community infrastructure over glorifying rulers or gods in quite the same way?
It makes you rethink what monumental means, maybe.
Perhaps. And the Great Bath at Mohenjo-Daro is fascinating. The sources suggest it could have been for ritual purification, maybe some kind of communal practice.
So, likely religious or ritualistic, but not centered on a specific god in a massive temple.
It seems that way, a different kind of communal or sacred space, possibly more focused on the community itself.
Okay, let's journey further east again, to ancient China. Here, the relationship between architecture, heaven, and earth seems absolutely central.
Very much so. Ancient Chinese building philosophy was deeply tied to their cosmology aligning structures with cosmic forces, feng shui, or geomancy.
Which is basically the art of placing buildings harmoniously within the landscape.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It influenced everything. Orientation, layout, even the choice of materials.
And their main material was wood, which is interesting. It carries different symbolism, life, renewal, compared to the stone we've seen dominating elsewhere.
Exactly. It reflects maybe a different view of permanence, perhaps more connected to natural cycles. The goal wasn't just shelter. It was creating buildings that resonated with cosmic harmony and also reflected the Confucian social order hierarchy, family, ancestors.
And the Sihiawan, the courtyard house, that's presented as a really fundamental form.
It is, and it's amazing how much it embodies. The enclosed walls give privacy, the central courtyard is for family life, light, air, and the layout itself, that strict axial symmetry, directly reflects family hierarchy.
So the house itself is a diagram of social order.
In a way, yes. Older generations or the head of the family would occupy the main central rooms.
And this idea of axiality, the central line organizing everything, wasn't just for houses.
No, it scaled right up. Palaces, temples, even entire city layouts were often organized along strong central axes. Think of later examples like the Forbidden City in Beijing. That's a continuation of this ancient logic.
Gates, courtyards, layered spaces.
All reinforcing imperial authority and cosmic order, with roots stretching way back.
All right, let's jump across the Pacific now to Mesoamerica. The connection between ritual, the cosmos, and architecture seems incredibly potent there.
Oh, absolutely. Civilizations like the Maya or the people who built Teotihuacan, they created these truly awe-inspiring pyramid temples.
Which the sources describe as sacred mountains.
Exactly. Places where the gods were thought to reside and where crucial rituals, including sacrifices, took place. The verticality is really pronounced again.
And El Castillo at Chichen Itza, that's such a prime example. The way it aligns with the sun during the equinoxes to create that shadow serpent slithering down the stairs.
It's phenomenal, isn't it? It's like the building itself is an astronomical instrument, a giant calendar in stone.
So their architecture wasn't separate from their science or religion?
Not at all. It was completely intertwined with their sophisticated understanding of astronomy and their complex ritual calendars. Structures like the huge Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan, built on a strict grid oriented to celestial events. They really highlight this fusion.
Cosmic instruments and civic buildings all in one.
Precisely, serving both practical and deeply spiritual functions at the same time.
Okay, shifting continents one last time, back towards the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Greece. Rationality, proportion, civic ideals. These seem key.
Yes, Greek architecture, especially the temple, is really seen as the epitome of classical order. It's this careful, deliberate blend of structure, proportion, and symbolism, all based on what they considered rational design principles.
And the Parthenon in Athens is the classic example, right? Designed by Tinos and Kelliker.
It really is. It embodies so much about Athens at its height, dedicated to Athena, celebrating democracy, showcasing their power and culture. You look at the Doric columns.
With that slight bulge, the antithesis.
Exactly, which is actually an optical correction to make them look perfectly straight and strong from a distance. It's incredibly subtle, and the whole post and lintel system just executed with amazing mathematical precision.
And that underlying math, the golden ratio,
Yeah.
harmonic proportions, it wasn't just aesthetics, was it? There was a philosophy behind it.
Definitely not just aesthetics. Thinkers like Pythagoras and later the Roman writer Vitruvius, they saw deep connections between architecture, music, math, and the human body. This idea that mathematical harmony was the key to beauty and cosmic order,
That became hugely influential.
foundational for Western architectural theory for centuries. It's where architecture, as both art and science, really comes into focus.
Okay, finally, let's turn to Rome. Known for incredible engineering, spectacle, and, well, building big.
The Romans were engineering geniuses, no doubt, and their big breakthrough was opus cementitium, Roman concrete.
Ah, concrete. That changed everything.
Completely. It let them build shapes and structures on a scale that just wasn't possible before. Massive domes like the Pantheon, barrel vaults, groin vaults, and of course those huge public works, baths, aqueducts, amphitheaters like the Colosseum.
Concrete was the key ingredient for that scale.
Absolutely. And Roman architecture wasn't just about engineering prowess, though it was impressive. It was also very consciously used to project power, Roman authority.
The Colosseum, for instance.
Yeah.
Public entertainment, yes, but also pure propaganda.
Definitely. A symbol of Roman dominance and control. Or think of the triumphal arches, literally monuments to military victories. And their basilicas for law courts, the forums for public life,
Yeah.
all designed to embody Roman order.
And they really pioneered the idea of a metropolis, didn't they? Paved roads, sewers, aqueducts, apartment blocks, even zoning.
Yes, they were planning on an unprecedented urban scale. Architecture wasn't just isolated buildings, it was integrated with law, administration, infrastructure. They were building the framework for an entire empire.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered a huge amount of ground. Looking back across Mesopotamia, Egypt, Indus Valley, China, Mesoamerica, Greece, Rome, what are the main things that stand out?
I think what's truly striking is just how consistently architecture was used as this powerful form of expression. It went so far beyond just shelter.
It was about culture, cosmology, social structure.
Exactly. We saw that fusion of geometry, ritual, power, materials, again and again, just manifesting in different ways. From ziggurats reaching for the heavens to Roman concrete enabling vast public spaces, these builders were communicating their worldview.
And for us listening now, understanding these ancient roots gives such important context, doesn't it? For appreciating architecture today and seeing these like enduring principles of design.
It really does. It shows how fundamental these ideas are to human expression.
Which leads to maybe a final thought to leave people with.
Yeah, maybe consider this. How do those core ancient principles, things like seeking order, using symbolism, trying to connect to something bigger than ourselves, how do those ideas still shape the buildings and cities we live in today?
That's a great question. What can we learn from these ancient builders about making our own spaces not just functional, but truly meaningful?
Exactly. Something to think about.